Imagine you're at a conference and Simon Sinek walks into a room and everyone just leans forward in excitement. He's polished, he's got that great smile, he's confident, he's got that TED Talk swagger that makes everything sound profound. Start with why. The crowd nods. We sit there with our pens on paper, writing down the insights and the nuggets. Then we go back to our businesses. We probably plaster it on a wall, get a nice big backdrop, painted, printed, put it in the employee handbook, probably do a team offsite around it. But then nothing changes. And this is where Simon Sinek will never tell you about your family business. People don't wake up at 6 a.m. fired up about your why. They wake up and watch what you do. It's the action. It's the what. And actually, it's the 1,000 small little whats that happen every day, whether you're watching or not, whether you're talking about the why or not. And in a family business where the boss's last name is on the building, it's in the community, where everyone knows who's related to who, where the unspoken rules are louder than the written ones, those whats are either building and strengthening the family business, or they're silently burning it down. Welcome to Rogue Wealth. I'm Kris Garlewicz, the financial bodyguard, founder of Prosperify, and today I'm coming for one of the most beloved frameworks in business. It's not because I hate Simon Sinek, and it's not because why isn't important. It's because I love family business owners too much to watch them get away with culture theater and performative chats. So let's go. Let's start with the problem with why on its own. It works beautifully in a boardroom. Apple has a why, Nike has a why, Patagonia has a why, and it's so polished it makes people feel good about buying that $800 jacket. But we're not Apple, we're not Nike. You and I run family businesses. Maybe you're in manufacturing, maybe in logistics or distribution. Maybe it's a service firm that your father or your grandfather started decades ago, and you've been growing with it ever since. And here's the thing about the why in a family business. You don't need to find it. It's already there. You're doing it every day. You're performing the actions. You're doing the whats that define the why. It's in the legacy. It's in the family name. It's around the dinner table or the company offsite. It's taking care of the people who took care of us. It's building something that outlasts us for decades forward. That's the why. And every family business owner I've sat across from in the 20 some odd years that I've been doing this, it's inside their bones, their DNA. So what's the problem? It's not the why. It's the what. What do we do when a top performer is quietly drifting away, carrying a low-performing cousin or family member that's been around for 3 years and just always shows up late, leaves too early, and everybody just jokes like, ha, 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 that's the cousin. He doesn't have to do work anyway. Those kind of passive judgments and observations are the silent killers that hurt the business and the perception and keeping retention around. What do we do when the founder walks into a meeting and everybody immediately adjusts their opinions to match his? What actually happens? Not what we say happens when someone misses a target or an objective or a benchmark. What does "we take care of our people" look like at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday when the line is short 2 people and the GM is deciding whether to call the owner? This is culture. And it's not that framed mission statement or the retreat in Cabo where we're talking about the value and the why. It doesn't show up at the company picnic. It's the thousands and thousands of small whats that nobody's watching, but everybody is. In an article that actually birthed out this episode, Family Business Unchained, I laid out a framework about 5 different types of family businesses or tiers of where they are. And here I want to tell you about what Apex family businesses do, because I've been advising and helping family-run businesses across the country for the last 20 some odd years, and I've been doing it quietly. And in that time, this framework came out to categorize where these family businesses are. And so you won't see these at industry conferences, you won't see these in handbooks, But the 5 tiers that we've identified are apex, game changers, renewal, struggling, and obsolete. Most families, family-run businesses, bounce around between struggling and renewal. A few of them hang out in the game changer space. Apex, at the top, they're the rarest. They're the ones that genuinely build and sustain generational wealth. They have processes and procedures and strong lived action-based values to check all of the emotion and the noise and the distraction that just comes with family along the way to separate it from the operation and the perspective of the business. And the single most consistent thing that I've observed with the Apex and Game Changer family businesses, everyone knows the deal. Everyone knows the deal. Not everyone agrees on everything. That's not what it's about. Not everybody's all chipper and happy all the time, every day. Everything's great. But there's no ambiguity about what the standards are and what the expectations are. No one's confused about what accountability looks like and what the culture actually demands. Employees operate in team. There's alignment. There's trust. And not because it's painted up on the wall in a plaque. It's because it's demonstrated from the top down with leadership, with consistency, and it shows up when everything's under pressure. That phrase, everyone knows the deal, is the most powerful cultural statement that you can make in a business. It's not a why, it's a what. It's observable, it's repeatable, it's proven out and supported through behavior and actions. And culture actually drives clarity, and clarity only comes from the what. So here's the first question that you can start with. You can use it today. The first question is around observability. Can a new employee, say 90 days in, describe your culture without reading the handbook or going to quote the values? Can that person actually describe from what they've observed and what they've experienced how things work around here? Because if they can't, your culture doesn't exist yet. It's an aspiration. It's that plaque on the wall. It's the thing that you want it to be, but it is not what it's supposed to be. Not yet. What Apex businesses do really well is they pass the observability test. People can see the culture operating around them. They can feel it on-site and off-site. They can see it around them happening every single day. They can see the what's, the thousands of little small what's popping up. The second part of the test here is the consistency test. Does the what change based on who's involved? If that one shareholder cousin shows up in that board meeting and he shows up late, does everything change or is everything still aligned and working as it is? Does he get called out for lack of accountability? Or is there a consequence? That is one of the things that hurts family businesses the most over time. And it's this constant baggage that just weighs on leadership, partners, staff, the lifeblood of the business. Because in a family business, the greatest threat to culture isn't the bad hire. You can deal with that. There's processes. It's about the double standard that nobody talks about, but is painfully obvious. So when a family member operates by a different set of rules than a non-family employee, even in those subtle, even in those small ways, everyone notices. They might not say anything about it, but they notice it and they see it. Why is that a problem? Well, think about your best people. The ones you can afford to lose. The ones that you truly believe are critical. They're not replaceable to the business. They're doing the math. They're calculating this as they're observing the situation. And they're basically asking themselves, is this a place where performance is what actually matters? Or is this all just performative? Is this just talk? Or is this a family jobs program with a mission statement? The moment they answer that question the wrong way, you're already losing them. And they're just still showing up for the paycheck and maybe some of the perks. But Apex families apply the same what to everyone, or they bleed talent until the comfortable ones are left, knocking them out of that Apex tier. Question number 3, the conflict test. What does your what look like under pressure? I'll say it again. What does your what look like under pressure? Those things, those actions, that culture that you exude, what does it look like under pressure? Is the conversation that nobody wants to have about pay, performance, succession, about the thing in the room everyone is thinking about, but the founder hasn't named yet? Is that conversation happening? Or do you have to tiptoe or navigate around it? Because that's when culture reveals itself. Does your team know the deal? Or does everyone hold their breath waiting to see what the family does? If it's the latter, it's every hard moment, whether it's external, market related, investment related, performance related, margin related, or it's internal. Every moment, every one of those moments turns into a guessing game. It's not a culture. You don't have a culture. You have a personality cult, which sounds crazy, but personality cults don't survive generational transitions. They're basically hanging on the clothesline, waiting to dry out and dwindle and get blown away by the next wind. All right. The high performer versus the low performer truth. I want to take a minute in here and sit in this because it's something that most advisors won't say to you directly, if they even get down this conversation. Equal pay for unequal performance sounds very noble. It's a great ideal, but it's not. It fails in reality. In practice, it's toxic. When your top contributors are working and they're the people who are driving results and revenue and responsibility, they show up, they carry the load, they might do things that are out of their pay grade. They're forced to operate alongside underperforming relatives who face zero consequences. Resentment doesn't stay hidden. When that top performer who will do whatever it takes to help the business grow and scale, but that cousin shows up with the brand new SUV, top of the line, specced out, and that employee has to hear in the back of their mind that health insurance premiums are going up or deductibles are being changed or some outside factor is happening, they're calculating in their head that the culture there is not aligned. There's a big, big problem there. And so this issue festers. It's quiet, it's professional, because it has to be. They're still staff members. It's polite. But then your best person gets a call from the competitor. They leave. And you tell yourself it's because of the salary offer. Somebody got poached. Best place to work. Should have paid them a little bit more. It's not what it is. They left because the what told them the truth. The what said performance doesn't actually determine outcomes here. Bloodlines and relationships do. And no why, no matter how beautifully crafted, can compete with the what that you have going on in your business every day. And that high performer needs to end their part of that unspoken agreement. Importantly, you as the owner and the patriarch or the matriarch or whoever's holding the reins, you need to end your part first. Because until you do, your culture is just a fiction. It's that personality cult I talked about. It becomes a well-intentioned, expensive, and elaborately decorated fiction. And everybody's watching it. And a lot of the top performers don't want to participate. So that explains a lot of those breakdowns that happen in the family-run businesses with culture that's performative without the action to match. All right. I had to be clear about something. I'm not anti-purpose. I'm not hating on why. I do believe in it. I do, deeply. It's very important. And Simon Sinek is not wrong. Great leaders inspire rather than manipulate. He's absolutely right on that. This insight has value. But the why framework, when applied to the day-to-day reality of a family business, creates a dangerous escape hatch. It lets leaders feel like they've done the culture work when they've done the culture language. This is the key difference. There's so much time I've seen this in rooms, whether it's professional organizations that I've been a member of, versus in the boardroom where this gets broken out and unpacked and we're trying to get this on paper. But then actually living it and acting it out and doing the what behind it is just the throwaway. It's whatever we feel that day. They've defined their why, but they've worshipped and worked around and kind of hodgepodge their values. We get the all hands on deck meeting. We do those different Monday power ups and sessions and and it's all performative. But they haven't had the conversation. The one about that cousin or the brother in law and why he's still drawing a salary, has a title, but hasn't actually done anything in that role for the last 18 months while everybody else covers for him. That's a problem. Purpose without practice is just poetry. And family businesses, the apex businesses, and the game changers, they don't run on poetry. The bottom tiers, that poetry's fuel for a little bit, but the moment the winds change and some sort of challenge comes, they get knocked off their feet. They run on payroll and production, on people who knows exactly what's expected of them, and the trust that the expectations apply to everyone. If they're not there, the moment there's a door to leave, they leave. So the what and the actions that you stand behind is your culture. It's not the stuff on the wall or that boardroom meeting where we hammer things out. Got a quick story for you. I actually pulled some notes from a client meeting we were doing that was all about organizing the why, the mission, vision, and values. That whole process. It's a lot of work. I've been there. I've done it. I've redone it for myself. But I was sitting in a room, and this was a presentation of this business's why. Family business, medical devices, work with physicians. And they came up with a cute acronym. It was really easy to remember. Partner. And each letter stood for something. Professional, accountable, reliable, team-based, nimble, ethical, and relationships. That's what partner meant. And I sat there and I chuckled. It's cute. I like it. Partner's easy to remember, but I know that by the time I walk out of that room, none of us will remember what the R or the N were, or the E for that example, for that matter. And frankly, I think some of these words are throwaways. You have to be ethical in business. You have to be professional. You have to be reliable. Those aren't core values. That's table stakes. That's like being surprised that you got a car wash when you get the oil change. That happens already. It's just part of the process. So I did raise my hand, and I was ready to get kicked out of the room. But that's what the bodyguard does, right? You see it, you call it out. That's our value. We're in the corner, even though you may not want to hear it. And I said, hey, look, I love it. This exercise, I'm sure, took days, weeks, hours of team time, but it's empty. It doesn't say anything. How are we professional? How are we nimble? What does that mean? Luckily, very lucky, that their culture is lived and they were open to the feedback as an organization. And some of the other members actually chimed in, and they weren't worried about the co-founders sitting there, family members, saying, hey, no, it's partner. That's what we're going to say it is. So we actually were playing back and forth with more of a statement on how to get there. There's some tools. There's many tools out there. You can search them on identifying your values and your why. But where we ended that meeting was, and I'll read it to you, it's changed since. Results and resolution focused for our physician-owned practices. That's their value. It's not an acronym. It's focused. They're focused on results. They're focused on resolving problems. If you were in the industry, you'd find out that what they were faced with is most of their customers get problems on the tail end, and they're going unresolved. They said, no, we're going to drive results. We're going to help resolve things. That's what we're going to focus on. And we're going to be a partner to our physician clients, our physician-owned clients. That's what we're going to do. And that has a lot more carrying value because everyone in the room agreed on it. And they can say that and repeat it back to their clients and customers, and they can feel it and experience it. That's a culture and a why statement filled with powerful whats that's lived through the organization. So here's where I leave you today. Next time someone tells you to start with why or nail your purpose, nod and smile. Appreciate the framework for what it is, because it is important. Then go back to your business and ask a different question. What are we actually doing? What does our culture look like on the worst Tuesday of the quarter? What do our people see when they watch us making decisions under pressure? Outside factors and inside factors. What are we letting happen that we shouldn't be? What are we tolerating that we've convinced ourselves that we're not tolerating? What things slipped through the cracks when we said that they wouldn't anymore? That's your culture. It's not framed on the wall yet. It's not what you said at the last company meeting. It's not that one page in the employee handbook that hasn't been updated in 7 years. It's not what you believe in your heart about who you are as a leader, because it's what you let happen. It's the action. It's the what. Every day, in thousands of small amounts, those little whats and those actions, they either build trust or they bleed out the business. As I mentioned earlier, you're either building or you're burning. And Apex families know the deal. The game changer families know the deal. The question really is, does your family business get it? Do you know the deal? So this brings me up to Rogue Wealth rule number 9. Culture isn't what you say you stand for. It's what you let happen. Everything else is just a poster on the wall. I'm Kris Garlewicz. This is Rogue Wealth. And if this episode along the way shook something loose and triggered a thought for you that you need to address, drop a DM, go to prosperify.com, pick out a time on the calendar. I can help walk you through anecdotes and experiences to help uncover and shake loose what actually matters in your culture to drive value. We'll figure that out together. Thank you.